Hi everybody. Maybe 1 month ago, I went to a bookstore. I went to Barnes and Noble and I was reading a couple magazines. I was flipping through the articles and there was one article that really fascinated me about a woman who came up with a new app, and it was related to how to connect people with food from local farmers. And I read this and I felt inspired by the story and how she made this happen. And as I read on and I left, I thought about it and I decided to go for it and reach out to her. And finally, we were invited to her home and work office here, and it's so amazing and she's so sweet. And this is Roza Ferdowsmakan. And she has this vision to connect people and food, and how they go ahead and make that happen with technology, which is a crazy interesting concept. So we wanted to go ahead and pick her brain and have her share a story, and want to share this with all of you who really love real food from farmers. So here we are. So how was your morning today? How did it go?
Yeah, very good.
Good, great. So, okay, the first thing before we proceed, I recently read that she was from Iran and she moved to America. You want to speak a little bit about your background, just how you got from there all the way here to Utah? Well, not here to Utah, but to Utah. How did that whole process happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I came to the United States as a child at the age of 7, and I was coming to the U.S. with my mom and my younger brother, we weren't trying to immigrate to the U.S. Actually. We were just, my parents didn't get along and needed a break from each other, and being from Iran, we came to the U.S. where one of my relatives was studying farming and farming research. He was doing his postdoctorate degree with his wife. They were doing a joint PhD postdoctorate program in Logan, Utah, and because of all the farming going on there. And so we came to the U.S. For my parents to get away from each other, or for my mom to get away from my dad, and then a revolution broke out in Iran. I laugh now, but I wasn't laughing then. And we were stranded in the U.S. and we actually couldn't go back to Iran because of political reasons. And so we had to start a life from scratch here in the U.S. And my brother and I grew up latchkey kids, taking care of ourselves while our mom, converted her tourist visa to a student visa, and started working in assembly line jobs for the first time in her life. And we had a lot of struggles. My parents divorced. My mom ended up raising us as a single mom.
And that was in Utah?
Mm-hmm, in Logan, Utah. And so we were there, and then at the age of 13, when I could actually work and supplement my mom's income as a single mom, I started working on my uncle's farms and in his greenhouses, and in his open-air farmers markets and in his orchards. So that was the summer of my 13th birthday. And then the fall of that same year, one of my mom's university professors in Logan, Utah, which I should pull back and say that Logan, Utah, if anyone's been there before, is essentially a very small town in northern Utah, close to the Idaho border.
Well, I've never been there before, but yes, I can.
And it is not about inclusion or participation by different ethnic groups. It's 99.9% Mormon, blonde, blue-eyed, and I definitely did not fit in as a child there. There was no belonging, no participation.
Wow.
By me and my entire family growing up there. So I felt very much excluded, like an outsider. In any case, moving to the fall of that 13th birthday of mine, my mom's university professor invited us to a dinner party, and it was this cool, lush green yard in the fall, and the professor's wife was setting out all these dishes that she had made herself. And none of the guests were ready to eat yet. And I was just 13 and apparently didn't have very good manners because I was sitting right next to the food wondering when we were going to eat. And as she set down this one dish that I didn't recognize, I said, "What's that?" And she said, "That's quiche." And I said, "What is quiche?" And she stopped doing everything she was doing, and no one was ready to eat yet, but she cut into this still warm quiche. She cut a slice of it, and she set this little slice on a small plate in front of me, and she stuck a fork into it, and she brought the fork up to my face, to my mouth, and she said, "Close your eyes and keep your eyes closed. I want you to experience quiche. I don't want you to just chew and swallow. I want you to really experience this. The flavors, the warmth, the texture, the subtleties, the complexities. I want you to really experience this thing." And at that time, being 13, I didn't have any words to describe what I just experienced. It was really a culinary enlightenment. It was my first lesson in mindfulness, in being present, in gratitude, in connection. A lot of things happened internally that I couldn't put words to. And so, fast forward, and now I'm an adult, and these experiences that I had when I was very young about not belonging, not being able to participate in lots of things, being an outsider, coupled with this sense of connection to the soil and to the earth and how things grow because of my work on farms, and how we treat the earth and how it treats us in response. If we poison the earth, then it poisons us right back. If we treat it well, then it treats us well back, right?
That is a very true statement, yeah.
And so, these things, and then the sense of that culinary experience I had at the age of 13, these things informed who I became over the years. A foodie, an adventurous person, a person that was into diversity and variety and trying things and seeing life as an experiment, really, to try as much as you could, essentially. So that aspect of adventure is really at the core of what I created, which was this app that brings a sense of adventure into people's homes. And really, it's about, the ethos is truly about celebrating humanity through culinary adventures.
Wow. Well, first of all, it's hard for me to imagine what you would feel like as a young girl living in Logan, Utah, and trying to make new friends, considering it's such a small town. And like you said, 99% of the people there are very similar to one another. So that experience, I used to live in Sweden for 1 year. I did not know their language. They have a different sign language. And I was stumped, even though they're deaf, I'm deaf, you still felt like there was that language barrier. To some degree, I could understand where you're coming from, in a sense of feeling like an outsider, not belonging. So I also read that you went to law school in Villanova University. What made you feel motivated and want to go to law school?
I actually was not motivated to go to law school.
No? Maybe your mom's idea?
Yes, that's exactly right.
I guess right.
That was her idea. I actually wanted to be a university professor and teach English Lit and have my summers off. Did you ever see the movie Under the Tuscan Sun? That was my dream.
I don't think I saw that one.
It's essentially the life of, well, there's the book, which is wonderful, and then a movie came out after it. But essentially it's about the life of a university professor, a woman, who teaches during the school year and then goes off to Tuscany in her summers, and her sort of experiences and adventures there. And she has a vegetable garden there, and she writes all summer, and that totally appealed to me, that whole gardening thing and that whole writing thing because before I went to law school, and as early as my teenage years, I was a writer for the city newspaper, the Phoenix Gazette. I was a correspondent. I wrote for the junior high and high school newspaper and yearbook staff. I was on that, and wrote for the ASU, Arizona State University newspaper under a scholarship that I got to go to Walter Cronkite School of Journalism. So essentially I was a writer and a poet and a painter, so a creative who ended up going to law school. And so I thought, if I'm going to go to law school, then I'm going to select at that time, from the fields of practice that were available. I'm gonna select something that appeals to me and resonates with who I am at my core. And so I selected international law. So international law, international business transactions, because again, it's about a global vision, global mindedness, inclusiveness. It's about reaching outside of your own comfort zone, of your own boundaries, essentially, and experiencing other cultures. So everything about me is truly about connecting with people from other places and people with different experiences. And when I talked about not feeling like I participated in much as a child, well, I went full circle with that with the app, because this app is about celebrating our diversity, not just tolerating it. It's about inclusion, it's about belonging, it's about participation by all socioeconomic levels. So really, I went full circle with that and created an app that essentially has my own DNA in it, what I believe in, what my own core values are with regard to sustainability, with regard to economic empowerment of regular people, of the 99% of us, not the 1%, and about providing these culinary adventures to everyone, allowing everyone to have this experiential aspect of living and not just existing.
What's interesting is she was speaking about an app, and I personally am not an app person. I don't know one thing about making an app. Some of you viewers know things, but what's interesting is she made an app that mostly was designed by herself, and her whole goal is to make this app free for everyone and have no ads and all those pop-ups. So how long did it take you to do this?
Well, the idea from the inception, about a year and a half, it kind of lived in my head, and I did absolutely nothing with it. I just kept pushing it back because at the time I didn't have the bandwidth, I didn't have the resources, the not financial resources, because I still don't have those financial resources. This is all bootstrapped. This is all done with no funds essentially, but I didn't have the time in terms of the work I was doing at the time, and being a single mom raising a child, and there was a lot that I was going through personally, and so I kind of put things on hold and just kept pushing them off, thinking, I don't have time to do this. This is my dream, my wish, but there's not a good time for it. And then right now we're toward the end of August 2017, but this was really 1st of January. I embarked on this and said, okay, I'm gonna tackle this full on, and this is my passion project. And so whether it flies or it sinks, I'm still doing this, and I'm going all the way with it.
And it's go big or go home, how the saying goes, right?
Yes.
Great. So her app is called Bites, and it's great for you to go ahead. You can add it to your phone, take a look at it, research more about the app, and actually use it. It's an amazing tool to connect you with local farmers so that you could go ahead, you get quality food, and you can really have that culinary experience and have a healthy lifestyle that really fits into your already amazing health journey. So she's providing an amazing service, amazing tools that will enhance your journey. And I want to just see if I could think of anything else. Do you have something you would like to go ahead and ask before we close? I'm thinking
how it works.
Explain how it works. Before we started recording, I asked her, I'm curious, how does it work? So go ahead, let us know.
Absolutely,
Great idea.
yeah. So foodies get onto the app, they download the app, and they tell the app what kind of date, what's the date of this dining experience they're looking for, what cuisine type they're looking for, whether that's vegan, vegetarian, Indian, Thai food, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. All options are available on the app. And then the foodie selects the kind of, quote, chef they want, the kind of culinary talent they want. Do they want a homemaker cook? Do they want a culinary school student? Or do they want a professional chef to essentially come to their home and provide them this dining experience? And so when they make their selections on those, then the app filters and it shows the foodie profiles within a 20-mile radius of that foodie that match all that criteria. They are that kind of chef, doing that kind of food, and are available that evening or day that the foodie selected. And so then the foodie starts looking at the profiles and seeing the pictures that the chef uploaded of their food items. They can see a small bio.
That's an amazing, that's awesome. I'm excited.
So they can see a small bio about the chef, and they can see all the dishes that the chef offers to make and the pricing per serving for the main dishes, for the side dishes, for the any desserts they do. And then the foodie can also see which farms, which local growers that chef currently supports by sourcing his ingredients, his or her ingredients, from that farm. And then the foodie can also chat with the chef right through the app. The foodie can see ratings and reviews done by real users who did a real transaction.
So you make a new friend in the process. You create a whole new community.
Yes, that's exactly right. It's about community building. Exactly right. And then you can also reserve the chef right through the app. And once you've reserved that chef services, both of you get that itinerary essentially emailed to you, sent to you, so that you both know what date, what time, what food, where this is taking place. And that chef turns around then and supports local growers by sourcing his or her ingredients from those growers, and then bringing all those raw ingredients into the home of the foodie and creating the full dining experience from scratch in the foodie's own kitchen. So this is not catering, this is not pre-made. This is really interaction, true interaction with a culinary artist, with a chef in your home. As a foodie, you get to ask questions, taste the food as the chef is making it, interact, and the chef is telling you about their life story, about their passion for cooking, how they got into this, whether their grandmother had anything to do with this. And they sort of take you on that full ride, that full journey, adventure, and you get to interact and participate and taste the food and interact with that chef as they, culminate into the experience culminates into the actual meal that's created. And the chef is talking about where he sourced, maybe, where he sources eggplant, and maybe he talks about Maya's farm, and this is what Maya's got going on right now with her crop rotations, and maybe he sourced, his microgreens from an urban farm on 24th Street Indian School, and it's really cool, and he talks about it, and it's designed to pique the interest of the foodie.
It's like a storytelling over the meal.
Yes, it's taking you on the full ride.
let me tell you this. I'm so glad that this seed and this idea was planted into your head at one point, and you actually took action. Because can you imagine how many people out there, you all have ideas now, and you just sit on it. Maybe you're waiting for that right time. But here's a story of somebody who waited only 1.5 years, but then finally took action and made such a positive impact on so many people and so many lives. My vision is that her app, Bite, becomes a global success and helps people all over, small towns, farmers, and people can use their app and we can see that grow. That's my vision and my hopes for that to happen. And ironically, I have in my kitchen, we have this big wooden sign right above our kitchen table that says farm to table.
Oh yeah, that's what this app is about.
Like,
Farm
right.
to table.
So it's farm to table because literally they go to the farm. So yes, this is such a great, it's awesome. This is great. So we just want to thank you so much. We're going to keep this short, wrap this up. And I just want to thank you so much for your time, your storytelling, and your ambition and excitement about your app. We all can feel that. Your motivation and that good luck with everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
You're very welcome. And for all of you, take a look at the app tonight and we'll share more about it, okay? See you next time.
Bye-bye.